Good evening, Sarawak. It's 8 p.m. Friday, December 11th. This is DDWeekly. It's good to be with you. I'm Ling Hun. We're here to bring you a recap of the top news stories that made headlines across Sarawak for the week. December 7th, 2020 marked great significance to Sarawak as the commercial settlement agreement between Sarawak government and Petronas was inked. With this, Sarawak has secured its fair share of participation, opportunities and profit sharing in the oil and gas industry alongside National Oil Corporation Petronas. Once the agreement was signed, it was officially agreed that a consultative framework would be established to facilitate, monitor and ensure the state's commercial standing and active participation in both upstream and downstream projects, as well as the Sarawak Gas Masterplan. Not only that Sarawak's interests would be given the utmost consideration by Petronas in its decision-making on management of offshore petroleum operations, the collaboration and shared commitment would also open doors to more Sarawak companies in participation in the state's energy sector. Following this good news, Deputy Chief Minister Dato' Amar Awang Tengah Ali Hassan, who is also the chief negotiator of the working committee that made this achievement come true, said Petroleum Sarawak Berhad Petros, representing Sarawak, will be issued oil prospecting licenses for more exploration projects in due time. Other than the 2 oil mining leases issued on October 30th, Sarawak government will soon give the green lights to Petros to conduct explorations for more hydrocarbons in northern Sarawak. Perhaps this is only the beginning of the Sarawak Gas Masterplan that has yet to be fully revealed. Thrilled with this event, political pundit Dato' Peter Minos even described the new collaboration as an early angpow or red packet to all Sarawakians as Chinese New Year is just 2 months away. Though specific benefits and gains of this commercial settlement agreement are yet to be defined, he believed that Sarawakians will definitely get some financial gains from Petronas at the end of the day, on and above the existing profits. Sharing the same thought, Sarawak Housing and Real Estate Developers Association Kuching Branch Chairman Dato' Sim Kiang Chok said, "There is no more tengok saja for Sarawakians. It is time for Sarawak to get things going for the best returns to the state government and people." Entrepreneur Development and Cooperatives Minister Dato' Sri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar also applauded this successful episode as he viewed the signing of the agreement as groundbreaking, seeing that Sarawak is now sharing the wealth from oil and gas in Sarawak with the federal government after several years of struggle. On another good news, the late Plain Sri Adinan Satem's dream to have a Wisma Melayu Sarawak finally came true as the earth-breaking ceremony yesterday signified the start of its 24-month construction that will put another iconic landmark in Kuching City. Tok Nan was the one who allocated the land at Jalan Diplomatic Petrojaya, and now Chief Minister Dato' Patinggi Abang Jo Tun Openg and his deputy, Dato' Amar Awang Tengah Ali Hassan, have put together the project in honouring the contributions of the Malay community in Sarawak. Phase 1 of the soon-to-be home of Amanah Hairat Yayasan Budaya Melayu Sarawak, AKYBMS, will feature a 2-story building with its design inspired by the tengkolok headgear worn by the Malays. With the capacity of 2,000 persons, the facilities include a basement car park, a main convention centre, 3 seminar and meeting rooms, Malay culture gallery, exhibition space, administration office, a surau for 100 people, and Samarinduk recreational landscape garden surrounded by existing mature cempedak trees. If there is budget, Phase 2 of the construction will see a few components including a 10-story office building for rental, a hotel or budget hotel, shop houses, warung-style restaurants, as well as sports and recreational facilities. Moving on to more development in the state. All Sarawakians and tourists are going to enjoy free public e-bus rides in Kuching starting January next year. Assistant Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Dato' Sebastian Ting, said the e-bus service will be set up at important routes in the city, including Kuching International Airport, Old Kuching Heritage Trail, private medical centres, educational institutions, shopping malls and other landmarks. Besides the standard features such as priority seats and wheelchair-friendly, the e-bus leverages on digital technology where all units will be equipped with free Wi-Fi internet access, real-time broadcasting content control system, GPS tracking system, and are mobile apps friendly. With its launching in less than a month, Sarawak will be the first state in Malaysia to roll out free public buses running on electric power. Touching on politics, Parti Rakyat Sarawak President Tan Sri Dr. James Jermut Masing opined that it would not be a surprise if Sarawak 12 state election were to be held anytime now. Masing, who is also the Deputy Chief Minister, said it is better to hold the elections as soon as possible, seeing that Sarawak COVID-19 is more manageable at the moment, with 0 or single-digit cases being reported in the past week. Nonetheless, it is still the Chief Minister's call at the end of the day. So, when do you think the state elections will be? Coming up next is more updates on social news in the state. Who would have thought waterhead in Kayan has costed the lives of 2 security personnel at Sungai Melana, a tributary of Sungai Apo in Long Bediang sub-district. While 6 others managed to escape, the 2 bodies were only recovered the next day. When contacted by one of Dayakdaily reporters, the Lang Usang Assemblyman Deris Ngau explained that waterhead, or known as Kepala Air in Malay, is a sudden surge of a tsunami-like huge volume of water body that occurs after a heavy downpour upriver. And when it occurs, especially at night, strangers or non-locals who are unfamiliar with the phenomenon and resting on the river Pebble Beach or riverbanks downstream would be caught by surprise, and the result would be fatal. He thus warned outsiders, especially those who does not know the jungles in Baram area well, to engage with local people as guides if there are plans for outdoor activities. If you haven't noticed, 2020 is coming to an end, while a new year is creeping in. Unfortunately, Mayor Dato' Wee Hong Seng said the annual New Year countdown, usually organized by Kuching South City Council MBKS, is a definite no-go this year. He pointed out that standard operating procedures, especially crowd control during this celebration, would be difficult, as such an event involving fireworks and an array of entertainment activities would attract a mass gathering of people. But for tradition, the mayor proposed a virtual celebration instead. He said it can be planned, and if the planning is finalized in a couple of weeks' time, he would broadcast the news, including in his Saturday Facebook Live. On the other hand, Minister of Local Government and Housing Datuk Sri Dr. Sim Kwee Hian has called on local councils to be on high alert for any potential rise in COVID-19 cases in Sarawak, especially during this year-end season when multiple grand celebrations such as Christmas, New Year and Chinese New Year are lumped together. As an advisor to the State Disaster Management Committee (SDMC), he also reminded the people not to be relaxed despite the improving figures of late. Ever since the outbreak of the novel coronavirus, Sarawak hotels, one after another, have been catering for quarantines instead of foreigners or tourists. To date, Kuching tops the list with 16 hotels registered as quarantine centres, but there is only one in Cebu to house arrivals from Sabah. Others arriving from Labuan and Peninsular Malaysia are directed to be home quarantined. Thus, Senator Robert Lau has urged hotel owners to consider registering their hotels as COVID-19 quarantine centres to house more arrivals into the state. However, Chairman of Sarawak Central Region Hotel Association, Johnny Wong, said hotel operators in Cebu are not eager to do so. They claimed that they could not derive business from it since people, either locals or tourists, are not flying into Cebu. Moreover, locals think the 14-day quarantine is a waste of time, so they would prefer not to even return to Cebu. Should they be left with no choice but need to go home, they would also prefer to be quarantined at home than at a hotel due to the long quarantine period. Worried about the lack in quarantine centres in Cebu, Lau pointed out that home quarantines would pose as an issue if someone does not comply with the SOPs. Thus, he figured it would be best for Cebu to have at least 2 or 3 large hotels with the capacity of 500 to 600 rooms to accommodate more quarantines. Now let's take a look at COVID-19 in Sarawak. There has been an increase of 7 new cases for the past 7 days. Thus, the cumulative number of COVID-19 cases now stands at 1,073. Kuching and Syrian remain as yellow zones with a total of 3 local transmission cases reported in the last 14 days. Meanwhile, 2 clusters in Kuching, namely the Baki cluster and Selada cluster, ended after 0 new cases detected within the last 28 days. With that, only 4 clusters are left active in the state. They are the Besi cluster, Jalan Abel cluster, Green Hill cluster, and Wisma Melayu cluster. With the decrease in COVID-19 infections in the state, State Disaster Management Committee (SDMC) has decided to loosen some of the standard operating procedures. Reflexology, spa and wellness businesses in Sarawak are now allowed to resume operations with strict compliance of approved operating instructions. Before opening their doors, the operators of these businesses must apply for a written approval from the Divisional Disaster Management Committee through the Residence Office and submit the written approval to their respective local councils. Not only that, operators and employees are also required to undergo COVID-19 screening, and their test results must be negative with validity of at least 3 days prior to the reopening of business. For interstate travels, police permits are no longer required, while other SOPs remain to be observed. That is the DD Weekly News for this week. Thank you for watching. I'm Ling Hui and you have a great weekend.